Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. How are we? Hope you're all doing well. Um, we got another week. We got another Rubber Duck Thursdays. We are going to be diving into a few things today, as you've probably guessed by the title of this episode today of this stream. We're going to be looking at Copilot Agent Mode. We're going to be looking at MCP, Model Context Protocol, what it is and why you might use it, why you might care. So hopefully some of you have heard of these things already, because I kind of teased last week on our stream that there'll be some announcements coming, there'll be some things coming, and here we are. A week later, we have Copilot Agent Mode available in Visual Studio Code. We have the GitHub MCP server now available. So we'll talk about what MCP servers are in a little bit and why you might want to use them, why you might care. And then a series of other announcements as well. So it's been a busy, busy week. And yeah, that's why I kind of teased, hey, keep a watch of the changelog because there was a few things coming. So yeah, we'll do our usual thing. We'll dive into all of the kind of change logs that have happened. And then we're going to go and do some building. I was trying to think of ideas of what to build today, and there was something I started and never kind of got around to, a bit of a kind of side personal project. And I was thinking of a few different strands that we can pull together, like vision and other things as well. So we will go and build. That's what we're going to do this morning. And good morning, everyone. Thanks for all the hellos and the good mornings here. Hi, hello. Hi from Bangladesh. Hello from India. Great. Well, welcome. Keep dropping where you're kind of tuning in from. Keep dropping in. What are you hoping to see today? I guess we've kind of given a bit of a clue for today's one. But yeah, let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you're kind of interested in as well. Have you also tried Visual Studio Code Agent Mode or GitHub Copilot Agent Mode in Visual Studio already? How's it been going? Have you tried MCPs? Have you tried Model Context Protocol? Because it's not just available with Agent Mode, it's available with other AI tools as well. So again, we'll cover a lot more on what it is in a bit. But let me know. Yeah, let me know what you've been doing. I always love to hear what our community are up to. Hello from Macedonia. Good morning. Are you also on Twitch? We are. We are on the GitHub YouTube channel, the GitHub LinkedIn page, and the GitHub Twitch page as well. So whichever your preference, we are there. So please join us wherever you like. Of those three. Wave, good morning, Bertus. Good morning. Greetings from Germany. Hi from India. Hello from Earth. I'm reassured by that. We haven't got aliens coming just yet, so that's okay. You know, or maybe they're among us and on Earth, in which case, great. Hi. So hello from Earth. Hi from Chennai. Prefer Twitch. Great. Yes, you over on Twitch. Thank you. Greetings from India. Hello. Good. So then, I'm going to waste no time this morning. I'm going to take us straight into our usual kind of deal here. I'm going to change things up a little bit. I'm going to move me. There we go. Let's see how that goes. Because I want to make sure you're getting as much of the kind of screen and the blog as much as you can there. And of course, we can always just remove me from it as well if we need. So let me know. Let me know if it's all readable and all good. Good morning from Vienna. Welcome. Thank you for joining this morning. Appreciate it. Great. So what has happened over the last week? Quite a lot, as I mentioned. So I think we may have covered this last week, but just in case, we'll go from April 3rd, which is obviously a week ago today. The pull request merge experience, there were some updates to that. So you may, if you've been tracking the GitHub changelog, you may have seen that we've kind of been refining that user interface, that UI, and there's some additional changes going on there. So now you can group these workflow checks and these kind of status checks by status or have no grouping there as well. And then there's some additional fixes like the time that it started and how that displays, the draft section, tooltips not displaying, etc. So some good quality of life updates there. If you're using GitHub Enterprise Server and hosting on VMware, well, now VMware ESXi 8 support is now available because 7.0 is reaching end of support by October 2025. So if that applies to you, you probably already know that. And if it doesn't apply to you, now you know. There we go. So good to be aware of if you're self-hosting GitHub Enterprise Server there. Dependency Graph supports all Perl identified package ecosystems. So let's see here. GitHub's Dependency Graph now supports a wider range of package ecosystems, including transitive path information and the registered name of the ecosystem. It increases the accuracy and usefulness of GitHub's dependency insights, SBOMs, and API results. The package URL project provides a registry of software package ecosystems with a standardized format for package type, namespace, version, and human readable identifiers. So it helps identify untransitive and direct relationships that they've submitted. Good. So some quality of life updates there as well. And we can see that then in the, I guess, in the other category there when we're looking at the dependency graph. So good. Let's see what's going on here. Right. Copilot VS Code March release. I kind of hinted last week that there were some things coming, and this was kind of the big update. So Agent Mode is now available in Visual Studio Code stable. So what that means is over the kind of coming period, I don't really know what the time frame is, you're going to see that light up in Visual Studio Code, so it will kind of appear there. But if you don't want to wait, there's a setting that you can enable to get access to that in your Visual Studio Code settings. We can talk through that as well. But Agent Mode available in Visual Studio Code. That also includes Model Context Protocol support, and I'll explain a little bit about what that is, why you should care in a moment, and then some additional built-in tools then as well. And UX improvements. So before you had Copilot edits in one kind of page or one tab, and you had the chat view in a different tab. And if you were in Insiders, you probably saw that then there was a drop down in the edit mode for agents or edit mode. Now it's just back to one view, and you've got a drop down to switch between those three. So we'll see that in a sec. Next edit suggestions. So that thing we've seen on the channel on the stream before, where it kind of detects you've made a change and then understands where else changes are needed. That's now generally available. So again, a great quality of life update there. And then we have made generally available in GitHub Copilot the kind of Claude models there, so Google Gemini and the OpenAI models. So if you're using O3 Mini, was it O3 Mini? O3 Mini. I can't even remember the list of models. My brain is struggling this morning. But we'll see anyway when we get to Visual Studio Code. Also, there's a preview now where you can bring your own API key for providers like Anthropic, Azure, Google Cloud, OpenAI, and more. So again, worth checking out if you've already got some other keys there. Again, this is another of the big ones. We will be looking at this in a bit, but the GitHub MCP server is now available. So think about these MCP servers, Model Context Protocol, as tools that these large language models can go and use. And this protocol is a standardized way of defining really what capabilities are in that kind of tool set or in that package. So the GitHub MCP server is one of those packages that you can kind of go and use to extend the capabilities of the AI. So it was previously, and you'll see this in the write-up here as well, it was previously kind of a reference implementation from Anthropic. And now GitHub has published its own kind of version of that and kind of taken ownership of that. So again, we'll take a look at that in a moment, and you'll see a bit more in that. There we go. Multiple new models are now generally available in GitHub Copilot. So we've got Claude 3.7 Sonnet's generally available, 3.5 Sonnet, O3 Mini, and Gemini 2.0 Flash. So yeah, a good again, quality of life update, particularly for those enterprises who want some of the additional things that come with, products and services being generally available. That came out on Friday, just gone. So there we go. Then GitHub Copilot Pro Plus. So there's a new tier. So if you think about kind of the Copilot SKUs you can have, there's obviously Copilot Free, which we brought in kind of December time. But before that, there was Copilot Individuals, there's Copilot Business, and Copilot Enterprise. And when you think about it from that organization side, there's kind of two tiers. On the organization side, you've got business and you've got enterprise. Well, now we're bringing another SKU on the individual side. So there was kind of Copilot Individual, or Copilot Pro, I guess. And then now we're bringing Copilot Pro Plus. And you can see that has some of these additional premium requests here. You get access to some of the latest models like GPT 4.5, for example, and then more to come there as well, I'm sure. So another update there. And Copilot Code Review, if you've been using that in your pull requests, Copilot Code Review is now generally available as well. So it really was a big news day on Friday in terms of all of the kind of releases and things going on. Maybe we'll get a chance to go and see that in action a little bit. But you can see there's a couple of ways that you can go and use Copilot Code Review. One being in VS Code, where you can go and, in fact, I'm going to open this video and play it here. Maybe. Maybe not. Gotta love it. But yeah, maybe we'll see if we can have a look at that in a moment. Changes to the repository object in the push webhook. We're updating the URL field for push webhook events. Previously, both HTML URL and URL return the same link. Unlike other events like pull request, now HTML URL will return the repository URL, and URL will provide the API URL. Okay, quality of life update. Great to see that. This was a nice one that came out a couple of days ago. Security campaigns. So I really like security campaigns, actually, because if you think about all of these security alerts that we can get, and I'm thinking about from the development standpoint, particularly with GitHub Advanced Security, there's secrets, there's dependencies, there's code alerts and things as well. And sometimes it could be a challenge to kind of go and manage those. And what security campaigns allows us to do is those code alerts, it allows us to kind of group those up into some kind of logical method. So if I'm like a security manager in the organization, I can say, right, we need to burn down and tackle all of these issues relating to SQL injection, for example, or whatever it may be. So then, or this high criticality, or these ones which can be solved with Copilot Autofix. So it gives you this way to almost build this kind of initiative, this campaign, to go and then encourage development teams to go and burn that down then. So that's why I like this. It brings the security teams and developers closer together in GitHub. And that's why I'm a big fan of this, actually. So yeah, that one generally available 2 days ago. And now that also includes things like draft security campaigns. So you couldn't have drafts previously. Also, the one I did like here was automated GitHub issues. So you can optionally create GitHub issues in the repositories that have alerts. And then those issues are created and automatically updated as the campaign progresses. I thought that was quite cool, actually. Now you can have it on your backlog, for example, and track that work as well. Thought that was kind of nice. And organization level security campaign stats as well. So some good quality of life updates there. So security campaigns available for users of GitHub Code Security on GitHub Enterprise Cloud. So yeah, if you're using GitHub Code Security, so that's like the code QL features and all of those pieces, and then you can go and use security campaigns there. So yeah, thought that was pretty cool. What else have we got? What else? Reload responses with other Copilot models on github.com. So if you are using github.com/Copilot, so that immersive view, because there's two views that you get on github.com. You can either have Copilot pop up as like a little assistive view when you're looking at any kind of repository page, or you can go and have this kind of full screen experience and have that chat in that immersive view. And I think what it's talking about here, yep, the immersive mode. There are now more choices when reloading your responses. So you can kind of try and switch between those models and regenerate Copilot responses using a different model. So yeah, again, another nice quality of life update there. What it allows you to do is kind of explore between those different models and which one will give you maybe kind of the most helpful response in that situation there as well. That's good. Good to see that. What else have we got? April 8th, DeepSeek v3-0324 is now generally available in GitHub Models. So 671 billion parameter mixture of experts model. The v3 will be deprecated, and I guess this is the replacement for that is what it kind of sounds like here. So that cool, great, good to see that kind of update there. So if you've been kind of experimenting with models, or even if you haven't actually, a few weeks ago we did a little bit of a walkthrough of GitHub Models, what it is, and why you should care, why you'd be interested. If you're building apps which maybe you want to bring AI into them and make them more intelligent, GitHub Models is a bit like this kind of playground where you can write some prompts, test things out, and see how that experience goes, and then you can kind of start integrating that in a dev test kind of scenario there, and gives you that ability to experiment. So yeah, what that is saying there is DeepSeek v3-0324 is now GA, generally available in GitHub Models. So a great update there. What else? And then I promise I will come back to the chat. I have seen it kind of going through. So you all know I'm terrible at multitasking. Right, so push rule delegated bypass and custom property regex support generally available, and repository policy delegated bypass is in preview. Okay, so push rules. Push rules, I am such a big fan of. Here we go. Such a big fan of push rules. Push rules effectively are there to help you with kind of your repository governance. So thinking about things like preventing changes to certain files, making sure that certain checks are in place, for example, those kinds of things. The team have been working on a load of different kind of rule sets, so like push rule sets, repository rule sets. There was a third one that I've forgotten the name of right now, but to help with that overall governance across your code, across your repositories. And so what this is saying here, if we bring this back and there we go, is a couple of things. So delegated bypass is where you can authorize certain users or certain actors to be able to go and review before someone can kind of go and override that. Then regex support as well is pretty cool, where you can specify that if you're using custom properties, for example, and custom properties are a way that you can go and assign like metadata to your repositories, so you can start targeting them flexibly based on those rules. Now with the text type, you can make sure that the text follows a certain standard, a certain pattern using regex. So, if you want to have an owner, for example, and it needs to be an email, have it that way, etc., etc. That's kind of the example there, I guess they're kind of alluding to. Yeah, good quality of life updates there. Great to see that. This one came out yesterday, and again, such a big fan. I'm a big fan of all of it, to be honest. I do like kind of the investments going in the tooling here. But evolving GitHub issues and projects, there's a public preview in January around this. There's been just a ton of investment into GitHub issues. So being able to have sub-issues, for example, being able to have issue types, advanced search capabilities as well, they are all now generally available. So now you'll see, for example, you can go and assign an issue type to your issues, and then combine that, you've got sub-issues as well. So what this then starts allowing you to do is build up this hierarchy of like, hey, we've got this epic has this kind of task or this feature, whatever your kind of structure looks like and makes sense to you, you can start building that now. And then some additional search capabilities then with issues as well. And alongside that, obviously a lot of people use issues with GitHub project boards. They've increased the limit from 1,200 items on the project board or issues to the project board to 50,000. So yeah, a pretty significant increase. So hopefully that'll keep you all going on your planning there. And then some enhancements to the UI. So filter bar, autocomplete, syntax highlighting, create more option. I've used this quite a lot recently, actually. That's been really useful. Alphabetical ordering of issue forms, nice. Copy link to easily share the URL of the issue, and then load more. And just, good quality of life updates and paper cuts there. So good to see those. Yeah, saw this one pop up yesterday. So if you're using Helm, so I've typically used Helm when I've been working on Kubernetes projects personally. But either way, if you're using Helm, dependable version updates are now supported. Sorry, Helm is now supported for dependable version updates. So yeah, that means you can kind of keep those Helm packages current, keep them up to date by using dependable version updates. And if you saw the stream, I think a few weeks ago, you'll know how again, I keep saying I'm such a big fan. I really am. Because personally, I don't like, having to kind of keep checking in on my package log files and things like that. And what versions I'm using of things, dependable helps me keep those up to date. And when I've got that with actions run the checks. Because it's raised as a pull request, the checks run, and I have that kind of increased confidence that bumping that package version is going to be fine, is going to be okay. So you kind of see how all of these ecosystem of tools come together into that development lifecycle there. So that's great. GitHub Actions hosted runner fleet now includes a 96 vCPU large runner. Wow. So yeah, if you are in need of some powerful machines there to go and run some workloads, some workflows, I should say. There you go. I would love to know if you are using that, what kind of things you're building there. That is, wow, 384 gigs of RAM. Huh. I'd love to know what you're building. I assume it's probably like machine learning or AI-based apps or something related. But yeah, I would love to know what you're building there. Right, and then Copilot Chat now supports pasting links. I saw this one just before I was going live, actually. Haven't had the chance to have a play, but yeah, you can paste links into Copilot Chat now. So issues, discussions, and pull requests. Now you can reference these within Copilot Chat. Simply paste a link into the chat, and Copilot will do the rest. Got it. So I'm assuming then it's just those types of links there, I think. Maybe we'll get a chance to try later, maybe not, because we've got a lot that we want to fit into today's session. So there you go. That's the latest on that one. Let me jump back here and take a look at what's been going on in chat. How to connect Microsoft Visual Studio Code to cPanel public HTML font. I want to use Microsoft Copilot Agent for Create WordPress Home plugin. Don't know is the honest answer. It's been a while since I've used cPanel. Wow, it's been a good few years. But I guess cPanel is kind of like your admin panel for your hosting provider, right? And so what I would probably say is think about how you're deploying your code from your local environment to that hosting provider. I think that's the answer that you want to think about, because I probably wouldn't edit directly on that environment, because that's effectively like editing in production. You might want to go and have your source code version controls in GitHub in a Git repository, and then you kind of push those changes and deploy those changes on whatever kind of cadence or cycle makes sense. So not sure I would edit directly personally. But then, of course, when you've got that code locally anyway, you can start using Visual Studio Code Agent Mode there. So that's how I would probably tackle it. Hopefully that helps. Yeah, so there's quite a long write-up basically around agent mode and kind of how it's shaping development. And, I guess what I'd say there is, it's Copilot, right? We are still the ones driving that. We are still the ones kind of reviewing and looking at the code. Personally, what I've found is it's helped me do more and it's helped me learn as well. Because what I always found when I was kind of coding in the past is I'd be kind of looking up docs, trying to understand like how this method works, how this SDK works, and then trying to map that back to my project. And then I realized I'm actually using a slightly older or slightly newer version of the SDK than is documented. And it was just a lot of friction in that. And what I do like about kind of Copilot Chat, Copilot Agent Mode is I'm learning in the context of what I'm working in. So there's a ton that I've been just learning around like React and around many different things, to be honest. And so um, that's what I would say is we're still the ones in control. We still are the ones who are kind of driving that. And we're still the human in the loop. And it's there as a tool, just like, if I'm an accountant, I probably use Excel or I probably use some kind of other tools, for example. So that's what I would say there. So I hope that helps. Um, the question is Claude or Gemini. I'm not sure what the question is there. So please come back to me. What what was the context of that? I've forgotten what discussion point that may have been back then. Um, is automatic remediation with Copilot Autofix secure enough, or should manual validation always be required? So Copilot Autofix, remember, that's just going to provide the potential fix. Again, like I mentioned about Copilot and agent mode, it's there to assist us. So we are the human in the loop. We're the one who should be kind of reviewing that. The thing I do like about Copilot Autofix is just like Dependabot, it raises it as a pull request. So if we've done the right thing, if we have created GitHub action workflows, added other kind of status checks for like builds, for tests, linting, all of those other things, then those are quality bars that code, whether it's Copilot, Copilot in agent mode, whether it's me, whether it's Copilot Autofix, whether it's Joe Blogg's developer, someone else on the team, we all have to pass that barrier, that kind of quality check. And so that's why, again, I'm so passionate about having things like GitHub action workflows and having CI/CD and these good kind of processes that, quite frankly, we've been talking about in the industry for years and years and years now, and still in places I see it not being done. This is why it's so important, because when we've got those quality checks in place, it allows us to start using those tools and bring those together to move fast. So that's what I would say is it depends, right? Like, depending on what your needs are, maybe you want to have that manual validation as well. I do always review the code before I kind of push it and commit it, etc. So that's something generally we say and recommend to do. But I think having those things like actions and workflows just help you accelerate with some of those checks. And do unit tests still work? To maybe integration tests, if you got those. The build still work, linting still works, and any other quality bars you put in place as well. Those help just keep that momentum and that acceleration. So that's what I'd say there. Great, thanks, Anwar. Good to hear the love for governance. I think again, I think it's one of those really, really important things that goes hand in hand with what I was just talking about with kind of action workflows, pull requests, etc. Is just making sure we have those good standards of what we expect in our repositories, whether it's naming of branches, whether it's what files are allowed to be edited and by who, whether it is whether we have to go through a pull request or have certain required checks in place. These are all important things, and absolutely taking that seriously. So thanks for that. What is the documentation URL? So I'm assuming that you're asking about this page, in which case, please go to gh.io/changelog. And that is the URL that you want to go go and take a look at all of those announcements that we were just talking through. So yeah, please go and have a peek at that. I will leave that up on screen for a moment. Let's see. Any plans for introducing Gemini 2.5 Pro to Copilot? Great question. Don't know. If I did know, I probably wouldn't be allowed to say anyway. But, of course, I think bringing those latest and greatest models into Copilot is, of course, always on the team's mind. So watch this space. Nothing that I can share or have news to share at the moment, I'm afraid. So stay tuned is all I can say there, I'm afraid. Good. Okay. I think I'm caught up on the chat. Let me know if there's anything else that I've missed, folks. Any other questions, please let me know. And again, if you haven't said already, let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what kind of projects you're working on at the moment. I'm always super intrigued to find out what everyone is working on and the kind of things that you're doing here. So, I'm gonna have a quick drink. And we are going to talk about GitHub MCP server. But before we do that, we should probably just contextualize a little bit with what MCP servers are. So, let me do it like this. There we go. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a bit just so it's super, super clear on the screen for you. And there's a nice diagram somewhere. Oh, maybe it's not on this page. Maybe it's on this page. There we go. Right. I'm going to just zoom in. Maybe I'm just going to open this in a new tab. Ooh, too zoomed in. There we go. Let me bring myself off screen as well. There we go. Okay. So, what is an MCP server? This diagram will kind of help. But before we look at the diagram, let me explain. Think of an MCP server as... Let's backtrack again. What is MCP? MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. So if you've been watching the channel, you'll know that one of the things I've said so many times over and over again is context is so important when we're working with these large language models. It's important when we're working with anyone. If I'm working with my colleague and I ask them to go and review something, I need them to know what we're reviewing or what they're reviewing and why I want them to review it. Like if there's certain areas I want them to pick up on in particular, if there's certain things I want them to go and take a look at. And so when we're working with large language models, it's no different. Which files are we talking about? Passing that file in as context. Making sure I phrase my question correctly, that prompt, in such a way that what I'm asking for is not ambiguous. And so when you think about Model Context Protocol, the clue is in the name there, what it's all about is how we bring in additional context that we can pass in to those large language models. So really, it's all about how do we either go and get these kind of tools or these resources and pass those contexts then in to this kind of server and then return that context back to the large language model. That is what it's about. That is what Model Context Protocol is there to go and solve. So let me go and bring that back on screen. So you can see here that really all that it's doing here is you as a user, you go and have your prompts, you go and send that to an agent. That agent then goes and is the large language model, talks to behind the scenes. It sends the prompt, it sends any context like the files, etc. you've been working on. But maybe it has a set of capabilities that it can go and use, so certain tools. It has those tool descriptions as well. It sends those to the large language model. And then that decides, right, to do this task, I need to go and use this tool. I need to go and use this thing. And that is where then the agent go and calls these tools. And these tools could be many different things. One of them could be an MCP server, like one from Perplexity, one from GitHub, which we'll see in a moment, or maybe some VS Code extensions there as well. And these MCP servers can take different forms, and we'll see that in a moment. But then once you've used this tool, the tool does a thing. So it might be like reads a GitHub issue, it might be creates a GitHub repository, whatever it may be. You can then go and run that tool. The agent runs that tool. That gets sent back to the agent with the kind of summarized kind of context. And before running that tool, maybe you need to have some kind of confirmation that you're happy for that to run. So creating a repo or whatever it is. And then the agent executes the tool and then you get your result. That, in a nutshell, is what goes on with MCP servers. So think of them as like superpowers, I guess, that we can equip to our large language models, to our agents. So that is, in a nutshell, what these MCP servers bring. They enhance the capabilities of what our agents can do. Because if you've been using agent mode so far, in Copilot Agent Mode in Visual Studio Code, you'll know that there are certain things it can do, like you can read files, you can read from the terminal, you can go and read the test results, for example. But I couldn't go and do something out there like creating a GitHub issue, creating a new GitHub repository, searching Chris Reddington's GitHub profile. Those types of things it couldn't do until now because of this idea of Model Context Protocol. And over the last few weeks, it's gained a lot of momentum and a lot of popularity. And of course, you've seen the GitHub has released its own GitHub MCP server here. So yeah, that's a little bit of context. So hopefully that helps first off. So let me jump back to here. And I'm going to bring up my screen. There we go. So this is the GitHub MCP server repository. You can see it is public, so any of you can go and look at this. And let me just bring this off screen 1 second, just so I can check that I'm putting the right short URL in before I share it. Yeah, they are great. You can go and I'm going to put the link in the chat in case any of you are interested in taking a look. Yep. There we go, and I'll just bring it up on screen. So gh.io/MCP will take you to this repository. And this is public repo. You can go and take a look. You can go and raise a pull request if you like as well. But the team are hard at work on changes here as well. But really, this MCP server is the set of capabilities if you wanted to interact with GitHub. There used to be a reference implementation from Anthropic. GitHub recently took ownership of that. And you can see in here, there's a few ways that we can go and make that run. Now, of course, you're not just limited to using this in Visual Studio Code. So if you're, I guess, using Claude Desktop or any of the other kind of local AI tools that support MCP, you can go and use it there too. But here's an example of using it with VS Code. The way that it's done here is it's actually pulled down as a Docker image. I'm actually going to show you it as just a local binary that I've built. So I've taken the code locally, I've built it and running it locally, just in case you don't have Docker installed in your machine. So Claude Desktop as an example, you can see here as well, etc. And then if we scroll down, you'll see that there's then a number of tools that can be called. So think about these MCPs as kind of like a wrapper around the API. So if an agent is trying to perform a task, it has a set of tools that it can go and call, that it can go and use. And these tools have some kind of description against them to help the agent decide, is this the right tool for the job? Is this the tool that I want to call in this instance? Those you can imagine, if you put more and more tools in there, or if they're very similar descriptions, then it might get confused which tool to kind of pick. So this is kind of one of these interesting challenges at the minute. But you can see, for example, getting details of the authenticated user, getting an issue, getting some issue comments, creating an issue, listing issues, updating issues, searching issues. So there's a lot of these different tools which are here. So, bless me, excuse me. So that in a nutshell is the GitHub MCP server. So let me jump across like a cooking show. Here's something I made earlier. So this repository right now is local. It's not pushed to GitHub yet. Nothing's kind of there on github.com. And I can show you that by going to this URL, the github.com/Chris Reddington/strat G-app. There we go. We get the 404. So it doesn't exist. It's not there yet. So one of the first things that I want to go and do is I want to push this repository to GitHub. So again, remember in agent mode, before we had the MCP support, this isn't something the agent could go and do. It couldn't create a repository. So let me go and do this. First off, let's explain what's going on here in this file. So this mcp.json, we have in this .vs code folder. And then we have this mcp.json file. This is where we configure the MCP servers that are available. So what tools the agent can go and use for this repository, for this project. So we can see that there's one server, and I've just named it GitHub-server. Now there's different types. If I just get rid of that a sec, and put type there. SDIO is one of those, but when we go and add a new server, you can see we can do stdio, server sent events or SSE, and then of that stdio, we can run things like npm packages, pip packages, Docker images as well, or we can just run the local commands. So that's the path, effectively, to the compiled binary that I've got locally on my machine, and then just passing in that argument then. So I can just hit start on that, and we can see that's now running. That server's running in the background. And when I open up chat, if I have agent mode here, we can click on this kind of wrench and this kind of screwdriver icon for tools. And you can see we've got a number of different tools available here to go and use. Now, one of the other things that I've done just before going live is if we're interacting with GitHub, we of course need to authenticate so I can access my private repositories and things like that. So I need to generate a personal access token. Again, I'm going to go full screen for this. Please do not store that in source code. Do not store that path in your code. There is a way here you can see that we've got this type of prompt string, and then it's stored kind of behind the scenes in Visual Studio Code here. So we don't actually have this personal access token in the code. So do not put it in the code. If you listen to the stream last week, you'll know that having secrets in code is bad. Don't do it. Don't do it. So personal access token there. So we can see that that is used then as part of this environment variable for this MCP server. So that is how that server then gets access to basically to act as me on GitHub. So I've generated a token that has certain permissions that I'm comfortable giving it, and then it can go and do things based on that token. So as an example, I could go and say something like, let's switch to Claude for this, create a GitHub repository called strategy-app. Now, what you'll notice every single time you run one of these commands is it will ask you to confirm what you're doing here. And you can go and take a look and say, right, create a new GitHub repository. This tool is from here, etc. So be careful. But one of the things I notice as I review it is, oh, actually, it's not going to be a private repo. And for me, for what I'm doing here, I want this to be a private repo. I'm going to cancel that. And that's on me to, you guessed it, provide more context to the agent. Because I didn't say I wanted to be private. It didn't know. It didn't have any understanding of what I wanted to do. So let me do that again. It must be a private repository. We'll go and run that. There we go, looks good. And there we go, private true this time. Next.js-based strategy app, yep, that's correct, based on what I've got here. So that looks good. Let's go and run that. There we go, so I've created a private GitHub repository called strategy-app. The repository has been initialized with a README. So that's probably one of the other things I should have done, and you may have noticed it, is it said auto init true. And actually, I don't want it to auto init. There we go, I've refreshed that page. You can see it's created the repo for me. I'm actually gonna delete this. Try again. Because again, I should read what it's gonna go and do. I kind of ignored the auto init line there. So let me go and do that. And I'm just going to run the exact same thing again. And let's create a new chat just so it doesn't... There we go. So being super super clear there. We want it to be true, private, yeah, and auto init false. Looks good, looks good. And so when we look at this, we can start seeing all of the different things that it can go and do. So it can push multiple files to a GitHub repo in a single commit. Now it's funny, I've created a private repo. Do you want me to go and create this repo locally? No, I don't. Thanks. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go and go to strategy app. I'm going to go and add that. My terminal. Yeah, right. And I could have used, the agent to go and push up the files for me if I wanted as well. But now when we refresh, we should see, there we go, we've got our repository. So I was kind of thinking, what do we build? And you'll notice, obviously, I've kind of decided a bit on an idea here, strategy app. So I was thinking that I studied an MBA over the last couple of years, and there's been this tool that I wanted to kind of build of just like a visualization kind of tool to help with like plotting basically different kind of strengths, weaknesses, all of that kind of stuff, SWOT analysis, if you've heard of that, but a similar kind of tool. So I was thinking I might build something like that, but I'm going to use agent modes to help me make that, but also create things like GitHub issues and use some of these other tools to help me along the way as well. So that's what I was thinking that we might do here. So let me do this. Let me do this. So this is kind of what we're looking to build, something like this, where you've got kind of different pest categories. So whether it's political, economic, social, and technological. So what those different opportunities are outside. And then some different color coding of how prepared are we and how relevant is it to us. So you're kind of assessing like what are those external threats to us? That's kind of the visualization here. So what I was going to do is I was going to pass that into agent mode. And I was going to pass it into agent mode, but ask it to create a GitHub issue for us. So not solve the problem immediately, but instead, let's create an issue to work on it later. So I would like to create a GitHub issue in Chris Reddington / strategy app. The issue is a clear requirements. How much I want to say here? Requirements. Clear set of requirements for core functionality of this. The app should generate a should allow the user to create a diagram similar to the attached. I think I'll need 4.0 for this, by the way. The app should allow the user to create a diagram similar to the attached, allowing them to add as many points onto the ring diagram as they choose. The diagram is please provide in the issue, please provide a clear description of what the diagram's purpose is. Clear description of the user inputs needed. Diagram. Yeah, I think that's probably good enough for our initial one here. So GPT 4.0, we've attached the image, we've got this context here. Let's go see. It's used one reference, it's used that image, so we haven't got any custom instructions. I saw a bit of a chat conversation about that earlier on. It wants to go and create an issue. So core functionality, rings diagram creation. Its function is to allow you to create a rings diagram. Yeah. Points to the diagram to find attributes. So you can see how it's kind of broken down what the requirements are for us there. Enhancements and core functionality. I don't think there's a label core functionality, so I'm curious how that will go. But let's give it a go. Let's see. Great. I'm going to go back to the browser here just so you can see. There we go. It's the pull request as well. Oh, I needed to do that as I guess dependable auto-enabled for me. Here we go. We can see that it created a pretty good issue for us. So yeah, the functionality of the app is to create a rings diagram. Great. That looks like a great start. Now, you know what I'm probably going to do next? I'm probably going to use Copilot Agent Mode to create based on this issue. But before we do that, let me just take a look at the chat here. I did see some questions coming in. This last one we answered. So when you ask colleagues for help, context is often gleaned by colleagues because they know your situation, background, and projects you're working on. An agent or LLM doesn't have that, so you have to deploy it. The more context you supply, the better the answer, whether from colleagues or agents, which is why you have Copilot custom instructions files in your source repo. Couldn't put it better, Surly Dev. And welcome back. Thank you for joining again here today. Hope you're doing good. How late am I? What's the saying? A wizard is never late. They arrive precisely when they're meant to. So you're exactly on time. Welcome. And you can always go back and watch on YouTube or LinkedIn as well. But mostly what we've kind of covered so far is the changelog and just a bit of context setting around Copilot Agent Mode and Model Context Protocol as well. Can I share the contents of JSON file? What needs to be copied VS Code for MCP enablement? I would say take a look at the link that I shared a bit earlier, so gh.io/MCP, because the VS Code example is in there that you can go and configure. Because right now, the way I've configured it, I've got a local binary build of mine rather than Docker, just because I wanted to show you there's different ways of doing that. So even if I copied and pasted it, it wouldn't work because that path is unique to my file system. So yeah, take a look at the README is what I'd say, because it's all on there. Okay, so rings diagram creation, great. Let me also show you this. So we're gonna add another tool to our toolkit here. We're going to create an MCP, not create an MCP tool, but we're going to use the MCP tool here. And we'll use it in a bit just to maybe kind of inspect and see what's different. And again, I've never tried this. This is completely my curiosity here at this point. So let's go and add that here. Now, of course, Playwright is just it's going to do things like UI testing and kind of navigating. So it doesn't need like any personal access token or anything like that. And you'll notice that this one is just running as an NPM package. So that's what that's doing there. If I hit start on that, we can see that's running. Oh, yes, I do mean to share the screen. Sorry, T3. Thank you for mentioning that. You know how bad my multitasking is. So thank you for calling it out. So just to mention here, there's the Playwright MCP server here from Microsoft. If we scroll down, there's an example of how you can go and configure that. So there we go, Playwright there. It's ran basically as an npx command, so an npm package, and Playwright MCP latest is kind of the package version it's bringing down there. T3, you could say that maybe there was a lot of space on screen available for, say, a screen share, for example. Got you. There we go. Got you. So there we go. We've got this tool now running. So we can see that we've got the GitHub server MCP server running. We also got the Playwright MCP server running, and it has 20 tools. So now when we bring up agent mode this time, we'll see that we don't just have the GitHub tools now, we also have the Playwright tools. So being able to close a browser, being able to wait in the browser, file upload, pressing keys, navigating. You can see how this becomes really powerful when you start bringing all of these tools together. So this is one of them. The other one that I wanted to maybe go and bring in, and this is looking at the kind of reference implementations from Anthropic here on the Model Context Protocol GitHub organization. And I was looking through because, there's a number of different reference servers here. And you can see the one that was here from GitHub originally. And you can see here that's now deprecated in favor of the GitHub MCP server that we've just been talking about. But it's interesting, right? There's things that you can do here, maybe around memory and bringing memory into the agent. You can create entities, relations, add observations, etc., which is cool, which is fine. But I was thinking, and I'm just curious, sequential thinking sounds kind of interesting for a problem like this, because there's going to be a number of different steps that it needs to kind of go through. So what I was thinking was maybe trying this MCP server, because it's not one I've used, so I kind of want to experiment a little bit, see how it goes. And yeah, see if it's one that we can kind of easily plug in and use. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this bit here. And we'll use the MPX version. I think that's good for us for what we're doing. We'll go and hit start on that. Great. We can see it's discovered one tool, so that's clearly working for us. Now, let me go into this. If we take a look at the tools available, there we go. Sequential thinking is in there. So let's try this then. Please see the issue in Chris Remington strategy app. Your task is to sequentially think through, and you can see I'm using the keywords here kind of just to trigger it, that it knows what tools to go and call. Your task is to sequentially think through the steps to go and implement. Please make the needed changes in the code base for an initial version. I will feedback any changes that are required later. Let's try it. How does everyone think this is going to go? Have I provided enough context? Like, am I clear in my prompt here? Let's see. First off, gathering some context about who I am. So that's one of the GitHub MCP server tools. Okay. There we go. I need to see the issues in the repo. Sure. Looks good. And then once it's done that, I guess it's going to look up the... Ah, there we go. I was curious what came back. Ah, so the whole body did come back in the list issues. Okay, cool. Now, first I should check the current state of the Next.js application and examine. Ah, nice. Okay. Okay. Let's run that then and see how that goes. So that's done the first step. Now it's the second step, right? We have a Next.js application. Okay. Cool. So it's kind of thinking through what have we got currently in the app in terms of dependencies. What do we need? Fair enough. Let's try that. I'm not going to interrupt it just yet. I'm just curious what direction it takes here. So, yeah. Let's first install the required dependencies from the HT3JS. Okay. Cool. And what I like about this is we can see that kind of thought process as we go through step by step as well. Right, I'll install the necessary dependencies. Great. Right, those are installed. Wonderful. Love that. Now we need to create the core components. So a point, a category, ring diagram, a control panel. Okay, it's kind of going through as I would break down the problem, I guess, thinking through the components and whatnot do we need. Seems reasonable so far. Let's create the essential TypeScript types. We need to define the interfaces for points. Category and enum based on whether it's political, economic, logical, or social. Yeah. Hey, nice. Like that. Great. So it's now going through and let's add the types. Let's go and review that first and see how we feel about that. So categories, technological, yeah. Highly likely, average, yeah. Now it's interesting it's got the X and Y. That could be like a bug or a feature later, depending on how we want to go and implement that, because I haven't really specified how we decide on the X and Y just yet, I think, in the original issue. So yeah, let's see how that goes. I'm curious how it will define that later. All right, so now that we have our types defined, let's create as a stand store to manage the diagram states. Yeah. Okay. I guess, yeah, it did create that in a types folder for us as well. Nice, good. Let me create the store directory and implement as a stand store for managing the diagram states. I'm going to close that a sec. So import and create from stand types, point update, remove, select, save state, load state. Okay, they all seem generally reasonable. So we're adding onto the state with a random ID. Cool. Update point, passing the ID, what the updates are. Okay. Remove the point. If it's the right one, then make it null. Yeah. Save state, load state. Okay. Nice. And then what's the next step? Now we need to create the D3JS visualization. We'll need to create a ring diagram component, set the ring structure, implement point plotting with size based on that. Okay. Nice. I didn't catch that in the issue, so let me jump back here. Let's look back at the original kind of requirements that we passed in. Here we go. So yeah, it incorporates these different relevancies, and that's the likelihood. That's where those enums have come from. You can choose colors or patterns to represent preparedness. So I'd expect some kind of mapping between preparedness and color. Adjust the size of points to reflect relevance, the high, moderate, low. And that's what it's saying here. We'll implement point plotting with size based on relevance and color based on preparedness. So it's even bringing in those individual requirements there. That is nice. I like that. Okay, so what do we need to do here? So let me create the store and let me create the components directory. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I guess it's also it's kind of going back to Sonnet, I suppose, here to solve that subtask, is I'm assuming what it's doing. But figuring out what components are needed, what ones we need to make to then go and solve that. Okay, so we're making the ring diagram component now. Nice. Let's see. Oh, I didn't say anything, I think, in the requirements about how many rings there are or anything like that. Yeah, I didn't. So curious how that's going to be interpreted here. Let me just take a look and look through the code. So following diagram, SVG, not for the current one return. Makes interesting. It's hard coding the width and the height. I don't. No, there are. Okay, categories. And when we look at the categories and the types, interesting. I don't think it's quite going to work out as I wanted it to, because my initial sets of requirements were not as clear as they were supposed to be. This shows the importance of your requirements, folks. Well, I think what it's going to do is create a ring for each category that exists. So it would kind of have EESD or something like that, rather than having them as corners. So I'm actually going to course correct it at this point. This is what we should do, right? When we're working with these kind of tools, is kind of come in, and I could continue, I could pause. I'm just going to reprompt it and say, I think I need to add some more context for you. The ring number of rings shouldn't be based on the number of categories, but what did I do it on? I'm just going to look back at my original diagram. Likelihood is actually based on the likelihood instead. Highly likely to highly unlikely. And that should be in the types. It is. Good. Okay. So to the point earlier about do you just kind of accept it, this is why it's important to review, because what I wanted isn't quite what is there. So highly likely. Instead, the circles should be split into 4 quadrants based on the categories. Instead, the TLDR, the number of rings equals the likelihood stages. Those circles are split. Each split into 4 categories. Always use the information file. We can keep it like that. Just using this to explain it for you. Okay. Let's see how that goes. Oh, okay. I might need to go back and reprompt that one. It's moving on to the control panel here. I guess because we were at that point where it was like, hey, do you want to continue? I guess it's just interpreted that as continue, please. But that's okay. We can copy that prompt for now, and we'll come back to that. But this is something I know that we'll need to go and work on. There we go. Nice. I need to restructure the ring diagram component. Rings based on likelihood. So 5 rings, highly likely to highly unlikely. Yeah. Each ring splits 4 quadrants. Yes, that's clear. Oh, categories, likelihoods, ring width is likelihood. Yeah. And draw the quadrant lines. Love it. Or category labels. Okay. That seems like it's more on track. Yeah, now that was what I was worried about. I I think we've kind of fallen out of that of what we were doing with the sequential thinking. And you carry on with the sequential thinking steps that you had started. Really? Let's see if it can do that based on the context of the thread. Cool. Keep going. Okay. Oh, it's got the control panel for us. Nice. And good morning, Michael. Thanks for joining us. There's oh, that's just a linting error by the looks of it. Yeah, there we go. Copilot fixed that, thanks. Hey, Florian, good morning. Good morning. Right. Oh. Okay. Now we need to update the main page to integrate both the ring diagram and control panel components. Yes, that is exactly what we need to do. Okay, I'll update the main page. Thank you. Okay, so it's just bringing in those components and putting in a flex. Fine. Haven't really given it any guidance on how I wanted it to be laid out at the minute, so that works. Okay. Finally, we should improve the app style and UX. Okay. Adding a legend. Oh, nice. Okay. Okay. I like that. Where will it add the legend, actually? Let me jump back to the sequential thinking step. Colors prepare. Yep, so it's making a new component. Nice. That's what I was hoping for, even though it wasn't explicitly in there. Love that it's and just marking that dynamically. Good. Okay. Okay. I still haven't seen where or how it will do the X and Y, but I'm just curious now to see what we get. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's going to be in the control panel. Fine. Oops. Okay. I expect maybe some of the others, yeah. I'm assuming we need that in the legend as well. Oop. There we go. Cool. Oh, okay. And obviously the UI is a little bit funky right now, but we can fix that. Canonical, likely, low. It worked. It's very impressive. Like, yes, there's a lot that we need to go and change on. Oh, T3, was that a pun? Was that a pun that we achieved our target? If it was unintentional, I very much like it. I love a good pun. So that is very impressive. You know what I'm going to do now, though? I'm going to feed it a screenshot of what we've got and where we are and ask it to improve. But before we do that, let me see here. Bear with me 1 second. So we want to go that way. And I'm going to do VS Code. Oh, and my camera is frozen again as well. Bear with me. But we've achieved some really cool stuff in that time, I think. Right, let me grab a screenshot of, in fact, no, what I'm going to do first is I am going to take an initial commit of that. I'm going to commit and push that. Shouldn't do it on the main branch, but don't do as I do. We'll get some good protections and things in place very shortly. I want to take a screenshot of the diagram. There you go. And you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to put both of the diagrams in. So the aim and the actual. It's next. It's next. Next.js. Yeah, so I initialized that app a couple of weeks ago and did nothing with it. So I thought it was a good example for us to go and try. So, oops, no. Just drag and drop it. I'm going to try and help it with a bit of names. Current implementation. Please create a new GitHub issue with a carefully constructed plan on how to get from the current implementation. This is the second screenshots towards a UI which is closer to the aim objective PNG. Our first screenshot. The actual implementation seems to work well. So just UI changes at this point, please. For example, you might notice the UI isn't very clear at the moment. Please make sure to create a GitHub issue. You're not solving the problem yet. There we go. Let's see. So is this the new version my Copilot process edit instead of agents? Aha, Danish, great question. So I'm assuming you're in Visual Studio Code. And what you can do, there is a setting in VS Code. I'm going to try and find it, one sec. Whilst I dig into it. Rather than you read through all of my settings. Ironically, I can't find the setting. But I'll link to a video. Oh, it's right there. So it's chat.agents.enabled true. I'm going to zoom in on that line and bring that up on screen. So that is the setting that you want to put in your VS Code settings file. And if you reload the window, then you should be good to go. Hopefully that helps. Right, so back to this. What's fascinating is I think I forgot to remove the code base reference here. So kind of tempted to run it again, but without the code base reference. Because I wanted more of a high level kind of requirement. That makes sense. Oh, and I didn't say where we want the issue created. Let me do that. New issue in Chris. Right in terms, strategy. Ah, there we go. Okay. Oh no, in fairness, that was my fault, by the way, Dennis. I left that as a reference, just like I did again, apparently. Ah, what am I doing? Right, remove that reference. Go. Now we're seeing where we want to put it in, and there. Right, cool. Okay. But I will say, I'm impressed. UI improvements to align with target design. I don't think this is going to work. And yeah, 3.7 Sonnet might be better for tasks like this, because I think I'm sure I read somewhere that for UI pieces it's supposed to be improved as well. So we could try Sonnet. The reason we couldn't right now, though, is I believe vision support for those images is only GPT-4o in agent mode, I think, at the moment. So that's why we like to use 4o for this one. Let's do this. Let's do continue. Let's create that issue. Let's jump back to the I'm going to close that old. Okay. Good to know. Let's close that old issue because we've definitely completed that one. Right. UI improvements to align with target design. So very clear in the original mockup. Readability. Current UI has a dark theme with low contrast. Yeah. 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 Okay. This looks fair, I think. Once I save that. So let's do this. Let's jump back to right. So that we see the issue again. We're going to do similar. Build spec in the issue, and let's per the suggestion, Danish. We'll Danish. We will look for 3.7 Sonnet. Let's try that out. I'm not going to sequentially think through because I don't think we really need that on this one. Your task is to improve the UX per the spec in the issue, and I'm just going to turn off that tool for now, just so it definitely doesn't use that one. Right, let's go. Danish, actually, now I think about it, to your comments about your version, there's edit instead of agent. Are you on latest build of Visual Studio Code? That might be worth checking if there's an update. It hasn't read the hasn't read the issue yet. If it starts making changes, I will stop it and try it again. Because I do want to make sure I use the context from the issue, because there was actually some pretty good context. I'm just intrigued it hasn't read the issue yet. Well, I guess it wants to understand current state and then look at what the task is, maybe. Let's see. Let's see. No, okay, it's going to start editing. Let's undo all that. And this is why, by the way, folks, we commit. Do not forget your good version control practices. Make the needed changes. Let's try that. That should hopefully be a bit clearer. Okay. Let's jump back to 3.5. There we go. Okay. So it's going to look for the issue for me. Nice. Oh, what are we trying to build here? You may have missed it in the beginning, Danish. So let me grab the original screenshot. I'll grab you what we got. So what we're trying to build is over the last few years, I've been studying for an MBA. Finished now. And one of the things that I learned about was this kind of diagram to plot like um, opportunities, initiatives, risks, things like that. I thought this was kind of fun because it's like a visual thing that is hard to describe. So I wanted to take a screenshot of it and then use the tools to go and build this. And that's what we're doing. So we got to this stage, but now we've built this, and the interface works, but obviously the UX isn't quite there. And that's because it just wasn't in the original requirements that we kind of captured and put together. So that's what we're doing now is our next iteration to get it closer to the maybe not exactly like the original, but yeah, closer in terms of like just something cohesive, I guess, as an app. Struggling with the word there. Cohesive, I think, is the word I'm looking for. Right. Background, foreground. So it's keeping it black. Oh, Nathan. Okay. Adding more margins. Bring the ring color in there. Okay. Yep, that's exactly it, Danish. I'm gonna put that on screen so everyone can see. That's exactly what we're doing. Of course, a bit contrived. Would I create the issue and then do the thing like here? The issues would have already been created, but I'm just kind of trying to show how we bring all of this together into a bit of a story. So yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. All right. Oh, a few changes here. Okay. Hmm. And let's. Oh, I stopped the server. That's why. Mm. Did I do a different put? Oh no, it's back. There we go. Oh, there's still a few weird things going on, but okay. So it's highly likely closer to the. Oh, I see what it's trying to do. Yeah. Oh, there we go. It just updated. Oh, problem is right now this size doesn't quite work. Yes. What I'd love is as I mouse over it, there's more of a tooltip. Like it happens eventually, I guess. I'm just going to do the exact same thing again. Was that two in the exact same spot? Yeah, it was. That's my concern at the minute. I don't think it really does much with the X and Y. Like if we had a cluster of them that we needed to put in there, I'd really like if we could drag and drop it ever so slightly. But that could be an additional feature request. But given that like an hour ago we didn't have anything, we just had a diagram, and now we've got these reusable components, these control panels, a bit more of a color scheme. We've come a fair amount there, actually. It works. Test one in technological, although it's placing. So again, there's some things that I need to go and fix. Like it's placing them in kind of the wrong place. Like it should be in like a quadrant, like here, for example. But then technological, economical should be here. I'm putting highly likely. It's in that closer one. Political should be very unlikely, so the lowest. Let's say it's very likely in preparedness. Here we go. Yeah, so you can kind of see that's working. There's just a few maybe kind of gotchas to go and work on. But yeah, I think we got a good MVP. This is pretty cool. Right. Well, with that was the main thing I wanted to do today, and I think we've achieved quite a good amount there. I'm impressed. That's been fun. So to recap then, what we did today, we started off with a changelog. We started off with just reviewing what's come up lately in terms of the GitHub changelog, so over the last week. Then we did a bit of a deep discussion into what MCP servers are, explaining that they're like tools for these agents, these large language models, things that they can go and do and call. And then we went and looked at how that works in Visual Studio Code, the fact you configure them in that MCP JSON or the VS Code settings JSON. And we added a few in there. So we added in the Playwright tool from Microsoft. We added in the sequential thinking one, the reference implementation from Anthropic. We added the GitHub MCP server, and we talked about how on the GitHub side, because obviously we're working with private repos, we need to pass in that path token. Don't store them in code. Take a look at last week's video if you want to see why. And then we started building from an image, from a diagram, used vision with agent mode to go and create the issue of what we wanted, and then use those tools then to go and make that and kind of iterate on that. So that has been really cool. We've got quite far there today, I feel. So with that, what's going on? I think we've got another one of these a little later today with Casti. Can't quite remember if there are other folks also going live today. We'll have Open Source Friday tomorrow, and of course I'll be back same time next week, and we'll maybe carry on with this or find something else to do. We'll see how much I play with this in the meantime, and once I actually get it working and going. But thank you for tuning in. As always, please do like, subscribe. Please do do that so you can see when we're back online and we're doing more of these types of things. And jump in the comments and let us know if this has been useful. Otherwise, folks, have a great rest of the day, and we will all be back same time, same place next week. Thanks, folks. Have a good one, and bye for now.